What's up, guys? Welcome back. It's Joe talking about the Kansas State Wildcats once again, and we have some big news to talk about today. Now, before I get into things today, I'm going to acknowledge it now just in case you have questions. My girlfriend is currently making me's on the Nintendo Switch in the background, so if you hear any clicking, that's why. But also, guys, thank you so much for all the support on the channel lately. We are currently, I think, 198 subs away from 1,000, so if you want to help us get to that threshold, once we cross it, I will be giving away a free lavender quarter zip once we hit 1,000 subs in the channel. And all you got to do is comment. I'll post a video as we cross that. But for now, that's where we're going to be at. But moving on to Manhattan. Now, we've got things to look at. There is a cat signal this weekend from just about everybody and their brother. Every single person on the coaching staff. You know, we've got dudes. I mean, we've got dudes on dudes. We've got the different businesses booming. We've got the dancing gifts. I mean, we've got one of everything right now. Signifying that someone is headed to Manhattan to join the Kansas State Wildcats. Now, we had two players on visit. We still have them there in Manhattan. Mohammed Wague and Joe Toussaint. Now, both of them played for West Virginia last season. Obviously, we know what happened with Bob Huggins, but we're moving on from that. I'm not going to talk about it too much. But either way, West Virginia's losing dudes. That's the gist of this. We have two open spots, and there's two dudes on campus. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say we landed both of them. It's perfect. It's good to go. But the fact that we've landed one of these guys at least is a great sign. Now, I'll talk about the pros and cons of each player committing to K-State here in a few minutes, but I want to give you a quick prediction here. Do I think it's both players? I don't know that I think it's both players right now. I feel like the only hunch I have here, and I've got a couple of different theories that I've convinced myself either way. I think if you think about Jerome Tang, he would want each kid to feel appreciated as an individual player. So tweeting out one dude's gif or one thing for two commitments just doesn't seem super likely. I mean, I don't mean to say it couldn't happen, but that's really the only thing I'm operating off of in that sense. I think Coach Tang would tweet separate gifs, regardless of even if they signed and committed at the same time. I think it's likely that we'd see a separate commitment thing, a separate GIF. So maybe tomorrow we'll see another dude's GIF and then we'll know we have both of the guys. But at the moment, we don't know who's going to be a future Wildcat yet. And I should probably mention now, at the time of this video's recording, nobody's committed yet. By the time this goes live, one of them could be committed, both of them could be committed, and we'll just have to reshoot everything. But for now, at least with where we're sitting at right now, we're not sure who is that player. In my eyes, I think it's Mohammed Wague. However, there's already been one critically acclaimed burner, if you follow me on that, Trilly Donovan, who's talked about the situation, saying, you know what? There's a New York native headed to Manhattan. Not Manhattan, New York, Manhattan, Kansas. Out of the two players, Moe Wague is from Pennsylvania, which is close, but it's not New York. Joe Toussaint is a Bronx guard. We know K-State loves New York guards. You saw it with Marquise Noel and a bunch of other players. We're a New York extension all the way in Kansas. If it's Joe Toussaint, I'll be thrilled. If it's Moe Wague, I'll be thrilled. Let me get that out of the way right now. Neither of these guys I look at and say, you know what? I don't want this guy. There's better options. That's not the case, man. They're just at different points in their college career. Joe Toussaint hasn't started. He played at Iowa for the first 3 years of his career. Last year didn't start for West Virginia. He has a chance to do that in Manhattan. And I've talked about it a little bit on this channel saying, you know what? He'd have to start over Cam Carter at the 2-guard spot. And maybe he'd slip down to a 3-guard, but I just don't really see that happening. I think it's more than likely he's going to be the 6th man coming off the bench, very similar to Desi Sills last season, and I think he makes the team better immediately. A veteran guy, a senior leader guy. He's only got 1 year of eligibility, so that is something you have to take with a grain of salt. While Moe Wague has 2-3 years left. He's a sophomore player, played at West Virginia last year in his true freshman season, so we don't have a ton to go off of, but he's a great player, and I'm stoked to see. Like, the guy has a ton of time to grow into himself as a player. He's only a sophomore. He's 6'10", super athletic. He only saw 10 minutes a game last season, and I'll talk about their stats going forward. But if either guys are headed to Manhattan, if both of them are headed to Manhattan, this is a great squad with depth, man. That's the difference from this year to last year. Last year you saw it, an injury or some foul issues, guys are struggling. We don't really have the same caliber of players coming into the game to affect it. This year we do. And I don't mean to sit here and say that every single player is going to be a Keontae Johnson or a Marquise Noel. Those dudes are rare. Those dudes don't come every single year. However, having guys off the bench that can step in and immediately feel like an Ish Massoud type role or a Desi Sills type role where they're a quality player and you have that 1 through 5, that's massive for K-State. Now, I've talked about both guys at a certain point on this channel, but I do want to jump into their 247 page as well as their stats from last season and give you my ideas on that. So starting things off, I'm going to look at Moe Wague here. Now, his full name, obviously Mohammed Wague, but I'm going to call him Mo for the sake of the video. Last season, he played his true freshman season at West Virginia. He averaged 10.7 minutes a game, so he didn't start, he played a fourth of the game basically. 4.1 points and 3.1 rebounds in that time. Super athletic, had 74% field goal percentage from the field. The guy can go up and score. And granted, yes, most of those are probably putbacks and dunks, but he's a stud, man. He's got blocking ability. He's got those low block rebounds. He can do just about anything you need him to. And the best part is we don't need him to be a 15 and 10 guy immediately. He can sit behind a Naquan Tillman for a little bit, a Jarrell Colbert for a little bit and learn. Obviously, he still could play, and maybe he'd even work himself into a starting role. But we don't need him to be, Superman on the court all the time for this team to win. That's the best part about Wague. If you took his stats from last season and made it actually apply to 40 minutes, the guy averaged just under 15 and 12. This is a big dude. That's a big time name. Now, when you look back at things, there's not a lot out there, but he did play in the National Junior College Athletic Association. These are his stats. This is ridiculous. On that same topic of 15 and 12, this was 2 years ago, I believe. So before he goes to West Virginia, he had some big stats, big numbers. He was third in the conference in blocks with 102 total. Looking at his points, 14.8 points per game. And almost 12 rebounds a game. 11.9 rebounds a game, good for third in the entire conference. The dude can go crazy under there. 170 offensive rebounds in the season, 247 defensive rebounds. That's good for first and fifth in the league. Total rebounds, led the entire country in rebounds in this league. The guy can absolutely play, and I know that that's not ridiculous, but he did play against schools like Chipola, which is where Naquan Tomlin came from. If Wague's the commit, I'm so stoked for the future of this program, for the future of this player. Great player, great get. Joe Toussaint, like I said, a little bit different in where he's at. He's an older player. He's got 1 year of eligibility left, and we'll take a look at his 247 Sports page. Coming out of high school, I believe he was class of 2019-2020. Forgive me if I'm wrong on that. He was the 33rd point guard in the nation and the 6th best player in the state of New York, coming out of that area. And in case you didn't know, there's a lot of good players in the state of New York. However, guys like Joe Toussaint find their way slipping through the cracks. The 3 stars of the world, if you can find the right guys and plug and play them and develop them, they can become unbelievable. And that is exactly what happened with Joe Toussaint. Now, he once again did not start last season. Even though he was a stud at West Virginia, he only had 21 minutes a game. Versus, you have Marquise Noel, who was just over 35 minutes a game. Keontae had 33. This dude can take his production even higher this season. It'll depend if he starts or if he comes off the bench, but he'd be a great get either way. Last season, even though he only played about 20 minutes a game, 9.4 points per game, 2.8 rebounds. He's not expected to rebound in that sense. 2.6 assists per game on 37% shooting. One of the things I like to see here. Now, I don't want to sit here and say he is a great 3-point shooter or anything crazy, but he's gotten better just about every year from that. He started off, he had a decent season actually his first year, 29%, just under 30%, but that's also only a few attempts at the 3-ball at Iowa. He shot 27 in his sophomore year, 27%, 25 in his junior year percentage, and then at West Virginia jumps up to 32.7 last season at West Virginia. If he can get that to 35, 36, that'd be huge. Take another 2-3% on the 3-point shooting, that'd be massive. But he's a good player. I think he's going to be a great player. It's the most points he ever averaged last season. He had 6.5 as a freshman, 3.7 as a sophomore, 4.3 as a junior, and then 9.4 under Bob Huggins. If he can take his dog mentality and the tough New Yorker mentality to K-State and really follow up on the tradition that Marquise Noel really established at a core last year, K-State is a great one in their hands. I don't know which player it's going to be, but if it's either, I'm thrilled. It doesn't matter at this point. We got somebody. We have at least a dude. Whether it's Joe Toussaint or Mohammed Wague, we've got good players coming in. And in the event that for some reason both commit, that's even better. These guys are unbelievable. It'll be good to watch. And I'm excited to see when the season starts up. But we should know, maybe we'll know by the time of this video, and this is all worthless, but it doesn't feel like that's the situation. I would expect the team to figure out that both guys are either in or one guy's in, one guy's out before one person announces. If they're on the fence about Moe Wague and Joe Toussaint says, I'm a cat, here I go. Then everybody immediately jumps on top of Moe Wague to say, follow him or come back. There's a lot of pressure added in either way, but I'll be interested to see. We'll see how it goes, but thank you guys so much for all the support on the channel lately. I really appreciate everything you guys have done. It's going to continue to grow, and I appreciate having you as a member of the crew. And going forward, guys, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, a wonderful day. Go Cats.